The gambler brain. Gambling and drug addiction similarities. Scientists now recognize problem gambling as a behavioral addiction, an addiction to an action, not a substance. Any activity that hyperstimulate the brain reward system, like gambling, can become addictive. Key similarity: both gambler and drug addict continue their behavior despite negative consequences. Behavioral symptoms of gambling addiction versus drug addiction. Both addiction lead to loss of control. Gambling disorder was once seen as an impulse control issue, but it's now classified as gambling disorder. Was once seen as an impulse control, a behavioral addiction, but it's now classified as behavioral addiction due to strong similarities with substance use disorders. Examples of shared symptoms: gambling, people jeopardize relationships and financial stability. Drugs, substance use lead to problems at work, school, or home. Both people try to quit but fail repeatedly. Tolerance and withdrawal. Gambler need to bet more money for the same excitement, just like addict increase drug use over time. Withdrawal symptoms in gambler include cravings, restlessness, and even physical effects like sweating and insomnia. The brain role in gambling addiction: numbered reward response. Just like drug user, compulsive gambler show reduced activation in the nucleus accumbens, pleasure center of the brain. Dopamine craving. Gambling triggers strong cravings, similar to drug-related cues in addict. Parkinson patients on dopamine medication are 3 times more likely to develop gambling addiction. Reduced self-control. Pathological gamblers show weak activity in the prefrontal cortex, leading to poor impulse control, just like drug addicts. The role of genetic in gambling addiction. Gambling addiction, like drug addiction, is highly heritable. Twin studies show that genes play a significant role. The TRD2 gene related to dopamine receptor is linked to gambling, alcoholism, and drug addiction. People with this gene may have reward deficiency syndrome, meaning they need more stimulation to feel pleasure, making them more vulnerable to addiction. Treatment for gambling addiction. 12 Steps Program. Gambler Anonymous provide social support and accountability. Cognitive behavioral therapy help gambler identify trigger and thoughts that fuel addiction. Medication. Naltrexone used for alcohol addiction reduce gambling craving by blocking the brain pleasure response. What is one reason gambling is considered an addiction rather than an impulse control disorder? It only affects people who gamble online. It causes craving, tolerance, and withdrawal, just like drug addiction. It's completely voluntary. It doesn't affect the brain chemistry. It causes craving, tolerance, and withdrawal, just like drug addiction. Which brain region is numbed in both gambling and drug addiction? Prefrontal cortex, amygdala, nucleus accumbens, hippocampus, nucleus accumbens. Why do chronic gamblers often need to bet more money over time? They want to provide their skill. They become tolerant to the excitement of gambling. They are pressured by casinos. They have more disposable income. They become tolerant to the excitement of gambling. Which genetic factor is linked to gambling and substance addiction? Serotonin transporter gene, DRD2 dopamine receptor gene, oxytocin receptor gene, suggestion gene, DRDR2 dopamine receptor gene. Sarah is 35 years old woman who started gambling causally. Over time, she found herself bettering large amount of feel that the same thrill. Despite losing money and damaging relationship, she continued gambling She tries to stop multiple times but experiences intense craving, restlessness, and trouble sleeping. How Let's discuss this case by some questions. How does Sarah behavior resemble drug addiction? What brain changes might explain why she continue gambling? What treatment might help her manage her gambling addiction? Sarah gambling is similar to drug addiction because she has tolerance, betting more for the same excitement, withdrawal symptoms, restless craving, insomnia, and difficulty quitting despite harm. Her nucleus accumbens may have an unbid reward response, making her chase bigger bets for excitement. Dopamine-related cravings may also make it harder to stop. Treatment like cognitive behavior therapy, Gambler Anonymous, and medication like naltrexone may help her regain control.